So my role that I was in before SSP, completely different industry. It was in the educational sector.
I grew up actually just around the corner from the SSP Aldershot office. I went to university in Cardiff. I don't know if anyone's been, but it's a really, really good city. Had a great time. I studied business management with Spanish. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do after uni at the time, so I wanted to try and keep my options fairly open if I could.
Even though it was a different industry, I feel like my skills was really transferable.
Before I was at SSP, I was working for essentially a managed services supplier for a number of different companies in the financial sector, mainly to do with banking, a few insurance ones in there as well, though. And I was working predominantly on the sort of first technical team level for the service desk there, and sort of managing a 24/7 team there.
It also meant that I was able to go to Madrid and spend a year in Spain, which was probably the highlight of the degree.
So I'm ex-military, served minimum service there, so I did 4 years. At the 4-year point, I was offered a bit of a crossroad really. So it was either take promotion or return to civilian street. So I decided to return back to civilian street. I've always been interested in IT from school, and I joined the army straight from school.
I was a business manager. Client relationships are really a strong part of the job. SLAs, contractual obligations, budgets for internal, shaping the business's objectives and forward planning. And I also looked after a team of 4 or 5 trainers.
Luckily, I had a break that I managed to get into IT, and from that point onwards, I've just knuckled down and pushed as hard as I could, took on as many experiences as I could, and then entered management and continued to push through that as well. So I kind of started to plateau in the financial service sector, and started to continue working in some of those companies, and then I joined SSP.
I was looking for work, and I kind of got a bit lucky really that SSP were local and looking to get some sort of young fresh faces into the office, and that's where the journey started.
I looked for a challenge and a change, and moved into SSP in the customer services team, looking after pure insurance primarily at the start. One of the customer services managers moved on, and there was a bit of a department restructure, and I ended up becoming a team lead of a 24/7 team again. So it was sort of circling back in a way.
Moving into the PMO role at SSP, it was a big learning curve. It was a challenge to really understand projects, the way SSP work. So
when I joined in 2015, I came in as an associate BA, so sort of like a baby BA. I had to sort of spend a bit of time learning the ropes. So I was on a sort of a lot of internal R&D work. In my sort of spare time, I was studying for the certificate in insurance, which is with the CII, one of the insurance bodies in the UK, and I was also doing the international diploma in business analysis, which was great actually. So that was classroom-based courses, and I thought that was really, really valuable to the work that I was doing.
Since then, I've had a number of different roles at SSP. I was a service delivery manager for a little while for a number of customers, again, pure insurance related, but now within platform services, looking after the service.
I joined in 2018, took on as many experiences as I could, and SSP was really good at doing that. And one of those experiences that I do recall, and it was extremely challenging, but it was very rewarding, was taking over the security role for a guy called Paul Ogden, who unfortunately left us. So I covered that role as well as my own, which gave me quite a good insight into SSP, further than what I had before.
I think it was my second day. I was actually on a client site. So the whole reason I think for me being brought in from the Birmingham office was so I could be on site at a client in Birmingham. I was, it was a bit daunting because it was like my second or third day, and it was okay. You're new to SSP, but we're also exposing you to the client world.
I'd always been really keen to get out to client site that kind of people interaction is what I've always enjoyed about work. So I kind of was nagging my bosses a bit, and eventually they chucked me on the Legal and General project in 2016. Bit of a don't mess it up, off you go. And it was really sort of, thrown in at the deep end, baptism by fire. But I think that's, some people like that environment and that sort of way to go. And for me, it was definitely sort of a kickstart to really push me into developing my skills and my sort of my career with SSP.
But it was the best way for me to be introduced to the team. I can give it a couple of days, and then I don't know, you just feel really at home. And even though I was to and fro from a client site and the Solihull office, I think it challenged me more and it made me enjoy it that much more.
The Director of Managed Services at the time, he continued giving me as much as I wanted to take on, which then obviously further rounded me and gave me more experience to continue progressing. And I think that showed value to SSP. That's
where I saw myself throughout PMO at SSP, is saying, right, what more can I do and how more can I challenge myself? And my manager at the time was like, stop asking me for more challenges. I think she was getting fed up with me, just because I just loved learning new stuff. And I was working with different project managers, different portfolio leads, and it was just exposing me to just more understanding.
I was working away from home a few nights a week in Birmingham, and became really close to sort of the project team, both the SSP project team up in Birmingham and the client project team. It's kind of one big sort of family, sort of trying to get the job done. We were definitely a team as opposed to sort of two kind of conflicting rivalries. So that was really nice. And I was primarily sort of working on their insurance product build.
When we moved over to operational effectiveness, we were a different team. We were operational effectiveness across the whole organisation rather than just PMO for professional services.
I was always sort of kept informed in the background that we had a lot of work in our Asia Pacific pipeline. So they always kind of kept me informed and said, hey, look, if you want to get over onto that side of the world, there should be opportunities. So eventually it came, and here I am, sort of 2 years later, just about 2 years later, I'm still over here, and we're really loving it.
And it was really, really good and beneficial to me to be able to discuss process improvements with the guys in Australia, the guys in South Africa, and I really enjoyed that because it was, never did we say it was just the way the UK work. We wanted to know how the guys in Australia and how the guys in South Africa work, and share best practices.
So I think the day-to-day work and day-to-day role isn't dramatically different. I'm still a business analyst, so I still run workshops, gathering requirements. I produce functional specifications. I triage defects. It's all still the same. I think just the responsibility kind of goes up a bit of a notch. I think you're expected to be a lot more kind of accountable for results that are produced. You've got to look after your time, or you've got to start thinking about others around you. How can I support other people on the team? What do they need to progress? How should I prioritize my own work and tasks to make sure that the project runs smoothly?
I built up a good working relationship with Kevin Wells, who was the head of the department, and sort of worked with any number of people who'd sort of been through the department over the sort of years that there were lots of changes in that area.
For me, originally, when I considered the role, so when the role first became advertised, I challenge myself quite high, but I'm also quite strict on myself, and I'll say, hang on a minute, don't do anything you don't think you can do.
Because I enjoyed working with the team, and I enjoyed sort of that more slightly technical side of things. When I heard there was possibility of a team lead role, I just thought that it might actually be a good step for me to sort of progress my career, but also, I really wanted to get in and sort of help the guys with a little bit more. Having had that working relationship with them, I thought it would be a good thing to sort of try and progress a little bit.
I had a chat with the head of operational effectiveness, had a chat with other service delivery managers, I've got a mentor in SSP, I had a chat with her. From your perception of me, you've seen me work, you know what I'm like over the last 3 years. Do you think this role is for me? And I knew deep down that I could do it high level, I knew that the attributes that I have developed over being in PMO, I knew that I could do the role.
You definitely start to be expected to talk to the client a lot more and have a lot more of that kind of front-facing, frontline role, which I personally enjoy. I think it's I think it can be tough, and it can even be quite sort of scary at first when you have to sort of face up to a strong client. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. You have to sort of learn how to deal with those situations.
Then I would also put myself down and say, it's a completely different department, it's completely new people, you're looking after front line, the customers. And then I'd put myself back in the box and say, oh, I can't do that, don't go for it. And then over the last 2 years, progression and career progression has been high on my radar, and I just said to myself, if I don't ever give this challenge a go, I'll never forgive myself.
As the head of platform services, my responsibilities now are to look after all of our data centers, not only our physical data centers that are located in the UK, but also our hosted data centers, SSP Cloud, and also the data centers that we have in Australia as well.
Obviously, there was a number of members within the team who had a sort of understanding of a lot of the different areas that we sort of serve as part of platform services now, and they understand the apps, the applications, the websites, and the bits that we host. But I think because I'd spent so many years on that side, I come with a bit of a broader knowledge of some of the other areas and can hopefully help them knit all that together, because we have got some new faces in the team as well, so they don't necessarily know that level of detail, and helping them to understand it, I think, is one of the sort of key benefits that I do bring to the role.
What excites me most is collaborating with people that I haven't collaborated with before, especially at a more of a senior level. And also implementing further changes that I started to do in the last role that will give me further flexibility to do in the new role.
So as a service delivery manager, so I'm currently looking after 2 of our clients and ensuring that the service that we deliver meets the agreed service levels, making sure that appropriate action is taken, anticipate it, investigate it, and resolve any problems in the systems and the services that we offer our clients.
Sometimes the work should be non-service impacting, but because of the way this application works or the things that happen, it will end up being service impacting, and sort of being able to predict that and work with the team to try and mitigate that even further, that does help as well.
Ultimately, being on the ball and being efficient and having the can-do attitude, I'm the person that doesn't like to just sit on things and let things go by. It's okay, there's an issue, let's pick it up, let's run with it. And if I don't know what that answer is, and I won't always know what that answer is, I'm pretty confident that I'm quite proactive to know who would have that answer or who can help me find that answer. And I think that's what really steered me in going for the role and accepting the role and giving it my all over the last 6 weeks.
I think you just have to think a bit more about the bigger picture. And I've enjoyed it so far.
If you want to regress, you've got to make a plan. Make a plan of I think firstly you've got to think where do you want to be, and sometimes that can be hard because you might not know that, but if you do, then make a plan.
I think a lot of it is just what you make it. So I think you have to seize opportunities and then really throw yourself at any challenges that come your way. You can't kind of sit back and expect things to happen or to be given to you. You have to work hard, and you have to sort of grasp things and push it forwards.
I just say don't give up. Hard work and actions speak for itself. You can sit there all day in your one-to-ones and say you want a promotion or you want more of a challenge, but especially when I was in PMO, I would find myself things that would give me them challenges. I wouldn't wait for them to come to my lap.
Try and concentrate on the role that you're doing and try and do that to the best of your ability, because if you can concentrate on that role, you will probably be noticed for doing a great job. rather than looking too far in the future and not concentrating on what's directly in front of you.
The way you present yourself and the way you show others that you want it is really, really, really important. It's the willingness to succeed. It's all right, well and good having a chat with just one of your friends or one of your close colleagues to say, you know, I'd love to do this or I'd love to do that. It's actually making it clear to yourself and to others that you're ready to advance.
I think taking responsibility is really important. You know, it's quite easy to just sort of think that someone else will pick it up or it will get done, whereas, you know, sometimes you have to see something through from start to end. And I think when you start doing that, I think people will recognise it. You know, people do notice, and people will realise that you're someone who's dependable and someone who can be counted on to get the job done.
In terms of advice for others, I'd say, you know, understanding the people and what they're sort of trying to do a little bit more could definitely help.
It is key collaboration, you know, identifying stakeholders and working with others, not quite in your own team, but also outside of your team. And I think that is most probably one of my biggest successes at SSP, being able to collaborate.
I've got a mentor, so I work quite closely with her on some projects when I was in PMO, and sometimes she would just throw me in at the deep end without really discussing it.
So it's always a team effort. It's, you know, normally SSP, you're working as part of a project, you know, project team, and you have to kind of think what everyone else is doing and make sure that everyone else has that support needed to reach the goals as a team. And just, you know, always listen to others, because there's always something valuable to be found from another person's opinion.
Build relationships. It's harder to succeed on your own than what it is in a team.
There's always a bit of sort of difference of opinion and challenges, but that's what you work through and work together on. So that's good. Yeah.
Learning is really, really, really important, not just academically, but also learning from those around you. So collaborate, you know, get with other people. You'll learn skills and ways of doing things that you would have never imagined before. And especially for myself, in all the jobs that I've been at, I've been quite lucky, really, experiencing other members of staff and the way that they do things, which I've I've pinched little pieces of skill and tried to build it myself.
You can never stop learning. There's always, you know, whether it's me learning something new about, you know, Select, you know, our insurance system, or learning something new about insurance. You know, there's always something that you can do, and if every day you learn a little bit of something, well then, you know, it's a day progressed.
If you've got the challenge and you can physically do it and, you know, put action on it, then I just think go for it.
It wasn't something that I just sort of sat back and let happen to me. It was something that I wanted to go for, was the other thing I'd want to say. So, you know, don't just sit back and expect that good things will come to you if you just wait.
There are lots of really, really smart people out there, and a lot of really, really smart people in SSP. So you're not always going to be the best person at a particular thing, but you can make sure that you always put all, you know, your full effort into it, and you always work really, really hard, and that will be recognised.
Take on new experiences. Sometimes you might feel that, oh, there's another job that I've got to do, and I don't quite know how to do it, and I'm getting given more and more. Don't think of that negatively. Think of that as a positive. It might be daunting, but those experiences are what will define you. They'll add further value to what you can give to any business, and that will progress you. Experiences equal progression in my book. And again, early on in my career, I was frantically taking on as many experiences as I could just to try and build myself when I left the army. And people say to me, Wade, you've had lots of experience being in the army. Yes, I did, but you know, that military life is completely different to civilian life. So when I left, I was starting all over again. So take on those experiences, and SSP is really good at doing that. You can take on as much as you want, and they'll support you in doing it.
Things aren't going to come to you. You have to go out and get them, and once you do, you'll prove everyone, and you'll prove yourself that you can, you know, that you can do it.